Hello, today I'm building in Moonwood Mill, and you can notice that there's snow on the ground, and that's because this is part of the Frosty Winter collab hosted by Jen Loves to Build and I Am Cowplant. It includes a lot of wonderful builders. I'll have their names in a little post on Instagram when I post this build, but this one I had based it off of a picture I had seen on Pinterest, which I hope I can find because the last time I did a build video, I could not find my reference picture. So I'm gonna get that before more of the shell is built. So here's the picture. It looks like it's like in spring or summertime. There's like flowers and moss growing on the stone. But I really liked the shape of this, and I liked the little doorway that's by the stairs. And I end up doing that sort of just using a window that I could pretend as a door. And then when like inside the house, there's steps that lead up to a little platform that's like perfectly lined with the window. So it looks like you could go through the door, and it's really cute. There's like a bunch of packages down there for like packed out like plushie orders, which I guess I haven't mentioned yet that I decided to turn this into a plushie maker's house, and that's because I've been really back into crocheting a lot and making little plushies. And so when I was trying to figure out what to do for the interior of this, I was like, I could do that because I could finally use all of the plushies that are in the game and is also added in with the nifty knitting pack. And then I did my other build where it's like the 3-part build with me series, and I used a bunch of plushies in that too. So now it's going to be overkill, and I'm going to probably be doing this sort of thing in every single build, is just putting a bunch of plushies everywhere. But there are some really cute ones. There's like a couple new ones in for rent that I haven't used yet that I fell in love with, and then I'm going to use them all the time now. But yeah, I end up adding another story onto this build because I thought it looked a little bit too short, and I thought there wouldn't be enough space to put everything I wanted to into the build. And so I do add another room on top of where the window peak is, where that like wooden part is. And that ends up being like a loft style bedroom, almost like an attic space, and it like doubles as where the person might like be knitting or crocheting these plushies. That's kind of where most of the plushies are, at like the bedroom. And then the middle floor, which is currently the top floor, that space has like a bathroom, a very tiny dining room that only has enough spots for like 2 chairs, a small kitchen, and then not even a living room. This house doesn't really have a living room, but there's a chair in a little nook that has a bunch of crafting supplies like stacked on top and like on shelves above it. And then the bottom floor is where I guess they would like operate out of, like if they had a business for selling plushies, that's like where they pack their orders and stuff. And so there's like a bunch of like the same plushie just scattered around on like the coffee table and on the couch. So I guess there is a couch. Technically, the downstairs would be the living room. It's like oddly split up. Like for some reason, the top floor reads as an attic to me, even though it's technically not, and the bottom floor reads as a basement to me, even though it's not underground. That's kind of like the vibe that I like see in my mind when I'm describing the build. But I really liked you like how the stone brick looks with the weathered wood on some parts of the build. So I'm using like a, I guess, medium gray stone from the Castle Estates kit. And then I'm using the weathered darker wood from Horse Ranch. And then that one, the like roof trim, is the dark wood from For Rent. And I really like how they all go together. Oh, yeah. See, here is where I'm making a doorway. And so I just used a window from For Rent that looks like it could be a doorway. You'd probably have to crouch a little bit because it's definitely not the same size as a regular door, and that's not going to function as a door. So if you download this on the gallery, you just have to pretend. There's like no reason to go through that way anyway. Like most of the downstairs is just for decoration anyway. On the walls, I'm placing dead wisteria because it's technically winter. So in another season, there'll be like pops of purple around on the exterior. I'm also putting some white flowers around because I liked the flowers on the build in my inspiration picture. And I thought it would look nice with like the white flowers with the white snow. And I'm placing all of my usual rocks around a small pond just to make it look a little bit nicer and a little bit more natural, and you don't see the weird lines from just like the terrain being a little messy in the game. And so I like use tool to lower some of the rocks. Some are a little lower than others just to create like a difference in the landscape. And then I end up making a path leading up to the doorway. And like this is a little later on. This is like the last thing I do, but I line it with different like yarn looking plushies. I know that it's definitely a character from a video game. I just don't know which one it is, but I've definitely seen the character before, and you'll see after too, because they looked perfect for being outside. It has like a little guy, and he's like hanging out on a stump of a tree, kind of. And so I placed those all around. It might be scary at night if you're afraid of dolls, but I guess don't walk up the path at night if you're afraid of that. And I'm adding my slime all over the walls. I was playing Fortnite last week with my friends, and like there's a Ninja Turtle event happening, and you collect to like unlock cosmetics. And my friend was like, oh well, slime is like your brand. And I was so confused, and I was like, is it? Like, I don't know if that is my brand. And she was like, you literally use slime in all of your Sims builds. What are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, okay. Now I see. I do add slime to every single build. It's like it feels like a necessary part of the build. And like you could see it now. I don't know, it just adds a little extra detail to the walls and makes them less boring to me. I also constantly add that with the is that no, those are brambles, and it's always in the yellow color. I don't know. I just really like how those pair together. The green slime and the yellow brambles, different ivy from any pack that I feel like looks the best with what I'm currently building in the shape of the build. So for this one, I used the get together ones because they made the most sense for where to place them. And I mostly placed them in the corners of this build. I didn't really go overboard with it like I normally would. And usually I'll use like Discover University Ivy, but those ones are a little bit more difficult to place if you have a build with a lot of like pieces sticking out, like this one has the room sticking out at the top. It would kind of cut into the entire build. Oh yeah, see, this is going to be the bedroom up there. And then I got confused. I didn't know what window to use for up there because I already liked how the build looked, and now I felt like I was ruining it by adding this. But I'm glad that I added this. I think it really helped the build overall, and I like the height that it adds to it as well. And I just used my new favorite windows from For Rent for the top part, and I thought that they blended in nicely enough with some of the fancier looking windows on the lower parts of the build. That's also from the Castle Estates kit. So I'm using that kit a lot, which I knew that I would end up using it a lot. It like adds, it doesn't have a lot of items in it, unfortunately, but it adds in stuff that I personally use all the time and will be using all the time, which is nice. I still wish that we got some interior items for it. I would really like a medieval pack of like any kind. It could be in a kit, it could be a stuff pack or a game pack or an expansion pack. I'll take whichever one I could get at this point. And oh, do I keep? No, I don't keep the flower box. I was gonna say, I was like, I don't know if that stays over there. I also added those shutters to the stone windows, which when I was placing them, I was like, this is kind of a stretch. It doesn't even fit the windows, but it looks nice. And then I was like, how am I going to explain myself in the voiceover? Because this like kind of feels not natural to have these shutters on these type of windows. And now I'm explaining it and no one cares, most likely. No one probably even noticed, but in my head that was a big deal. Oh yeah, and then I hang these is that from the Romantic Garden stuff pack. Yeah, I added those because I thought that they looked nice on the new roof that I added over to kind of split up the two different levels of the build. Yeah, I picked out these items earlier too because I thought that they would look nice just around. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna pick out the stuff that I'm gonna use to decorate early. And I really didn't at this point, I was lost for how to landscape this because I just like I was giving up, I guess, because the trees looked like they didn't belong where I wanted the trees to go. But I am happy with the end result. I kept it pretty simple. I didn't add a whole lot to it. I just put those two groups of trees there and I add some ferns around. But if you've built in the winter and the snow, you know how hard it is to landscape because all of the items are dead. And so it's really hard to tell what they look like. And it's also really hard to pick out greenery to just like add some color to the outside of the build. And so the options are pretty limited. Normally I would use there's like this bush with white flowers on it that came with for rent that I've been using in my snowy builds, but that's been like couple months ago now, and so I completely forgot about it and I didn't realize. So I was just using the ferns and those like that piece of like floor greenery. It looks like ivy on the floor. I don't actually know what it's called. And that's the stone path. There will be no terrain paint in this build because it's snowy. And I guess I do have to upload this to the gallery today because that's part of the deadline is it needs to be up. Well, they said by the 17th. It is the 17th, so I guess I already failed because I did not upload it by that time. But I could go in and add some terrain paint and then upload it to the gallery, and I'm sure it's fine. But yeah, my gallery is TheCrackedKyber, which is always listed in my description. So you could find the build there. I believe there's a hashtag for this collab too. I don't have it right now. Like I'm scrolling through and I don't see one, but I'm sure there is a hashtag that you can search up on the gallery for every build in the collab, and also like on Instagram there'll be a hashtag and you can find everyone's wonderful builds that way. I said all of that to pretty much say that if there's a hashtag, you could find it in the description and you could use it that way and also on the gallery if it's there. But yeah, now it's time for the interior. I kind of cut out me placing the stairs because it took me a long time. I had to move that window away from that area, and then I realized that there's really not a lot of windows downstairs, which I guess is also why it gives me sort of like a basement energy because there's only that one window on this side. It ended up being okay though. It felt like it didn't really need the windows, and where that window is, I end up placing like a teapot over there and a little like wood burning stove. And so it's just a place to relax and look out at the snow where like the rest of that downstairs is mostly just used for like business purposes. And then I had to change the color of the lights because the lighting in this game is so harsh, and especially if you have G shade on, it's like really intense, and I always have to make it a little bit warmer by changing it to one of the yellow options, which also I is that part of Better Build By where you can click on it's like shift clicking on a light and you're able to change the lighting. I have a feeling that's from Better Build By. I don't know if that's become a feature in the game or not. But yeah, this is the tiny bathroom. This is the only bathroom in the house. There's like a shower from Snowy Escape that I had to use because there's only 4 tiles and it would have been really hard to fit anything else into there. I'm also using a lot of half walls for this build. I say a lot, it's probably like, I don't know, like 5 pieces of half wall, and I already removed some of it, so it's 2 pieces of half wall, but it felt right and it looked nice, and so I went with that. I probably, now that I'm looking at it, I should have added some columns and some spandrels to this area to close off the kitchen a little bit more. It looks fine as it is, but I'm realizing that I could have done that too. And right now I just place the basic items that I know that I'm going to need to use, and then I go back in later and I decorate all of this in, like, more detail, and I add more clutter around. This was when I realized that I am not sure if I'm ever gonna be able to build again, because I was like I had taken I guess, a short break from building for, like, a week, because I was crocheting and I got obsessed with Jujutsu Kaisen, and so I haven't been, like, building in The Sims this week, and I thought I lost it all. I was like, "I don't know how to do this anymore." So I was like, "Let's just place all of these items in that I need, and then I'll get back to it." And then I managed to pick up, like, interiors again by doing that build with me video. I think it helped a lot because, like, if you watched that video, I had said that I was thinking about deleting everything I added to this because I felt like I was just doing the same thing I always do, and I was using the same items. It's like the same feel, the same aesthetic, and so I was just like I was freaking myself out for some reason. It's like not that big of a deal. And then I think doing that build with me video helped because it was a lighter color palette and it was I think it's a different style. I'm sure people would probably think that they're just pretty similar to each other, but to me, that's, like, my other style on the, like, other end of the spectrum because there's, like, this darker one and then there's, like, the lighter one. And that helped for me to go back to this build later on. I do change this bedroom a little bit, so I don't really change everything that I placed, but I do end up changing out the desk because I realized that the desk was throwing me off. I felt like it was getting claustrophobic up here because there's like not a lot of space and there's so much dark wood. And I was like, this would overwhelm me if I was sat in this room. I would feel like all this furniture is going to collapse on top of me. And so I changed some of it and I like how it looks when it's changed. Like right now it's okay, but it filled me with dread for some reason, so I had to change it. And I also like all the plushies that I picked out for this space. I did pick these ones out before I had done the other plushie build that I did where it's like the family room with all of the toys everywhere. And so I knew kind of which ones I wanted to use in that one, which was like that little tiger or is yeah, it's a tiger, right? Yeah, that plushie is so cute. It's in debug, so you'll need to use a cheat to see it, I think. Yeah, it's one of those long ones like bb.show hidden objects. It's better to just Google it because I don't use those cheats. I have Better Build By installed, which allows me to filter, debug, and live edit objects without having to type in all the cheats all the time. Because if I had to type them in, I would never use any of these items. And if I couldn't use any of these items, I literally would have never started this channel because I would not have liked building as much as I do. It's like literally Twistedmexi is genuinely the reason why I even continue to build. But yeah, this is some of the changes that I made. I just switched out the desk to something that didn't have the like shelving at the top, and I think it really helped. And I added like some other lighter shelves above it, so it looks like it's all one piece, but it's not overwhelming to me. And then I thought about changing the bed, but I really liked that bed because it felt like maybe that's something that they could have handmade, even though it's like it looks like a sewn quilt, but I'm, like, thinking of that as, like, granny squares, and they, like, crocheted that or something, and then I, picked out just a whole bunch of different items that looked like they could have possibly made it, like, different seasonal stuff, like, there's a pumpkin, there's, like, a Valentine's Day bear, a penguin, just a bunch of random stuff. There's also boxes. I had a lot of boxes around, mostly downstairs. I have most of the boxes down there too. And I add some more shelving here. Like at this point in this room, I wasn't sold yet. I was just like placing things. I'm like, it'll get there eventually. What sold me was adding the string lights, like those starry string lights around. And I felt like it made it very cozy and inviting and like a place that someone would actually want to spend their time in instead of like a place where all the furniture looks like they're going to consume them around them. And I placed plushies on the bed. I felt fitting. These are their plushies, I guess, that they keep for themselves. I'm using just different ones. I always use that like the Bigfoot one. I love that one. I size it down because it's pretty large, and then I use the like Star Wars Porg. That one I sized up, and it looks pretty good sized up. It doesn't look scary at all. But yeah, I said that I like changed stuff so it wasn't as overwhelming in here, and then I added a bunch of stuff onto the walls, like wall art. But it definitely it. I think it looks better and looks like it has personality now instead of like a cold, scary attic space. And I love these curtains. Some of my favorite curtains in the game, besides the ones that came with growing together, I believe. That really means nothing because I have no example to show you, but I have two favorite curtains and that's one of them. I'd placed a laundry basket in this bathroom. I forgot the word for it, I guess, and it's not going to be functional because I didn't put any other laundry stuff. So if you do download this, you'll need to delete that laundry basket or else your Sims will accumulate mountains of laundry literally everywhere. Your entire exterior like landscape will be covered in um clothing, and I know that from experience. So just delete the laundry basket and you're all good. But I liked the look of it. I sized it down and I was like, wow, that's so nice. Like, if I wasn't so scared about laundry forming everywhere, I would add laundry baskets to my build some more. And I used the same light pretty much everywhere. I think that one is from Growing Together. It has like the gold accent and like a circular bulb, and it looks really nice. I love that one. And I added more of these string lights around the build because I liked how it added a nice warmth to the space upstairs, and I figured that the rest of the build could probably also use that. This is a pretty long video considering the space is pretty small. I think it's because I spent so long trying to clutter it, and because I wasn't building as much or as often as I usually do. It was a little bit more difficult to build and be like convinced that it looks okay and stuff. But I do like this tiny dining space with just like two seats. I add some shelving here. And now I'm using like the same item in different swatches because I was like, Megan, you don't need to always put different items everywhere. Like someone could easily just have collected a bunch of these containers and they use that for their craft supplies and they just keep them everywhere around the house. And that was my reason that I felt justified to literally place those everywhere because I place those downstairs as well. Apparently I need excuses and reasons to reuse the same item more than like once in a build. It was fun cluttering in this sort of different way though, with like the idea of it being a home like dedicated to crafts and like crocheting and making products because I've never really done something in this way before. But when I was trying to decide on something to do for a winter build, I really did like the idea of that because I have been crocheting pretty much most of my life. I learned as a kid, but I really only get super into crocheting during the like colder months. And I'm not sure why that is. I think it's like because I used to not make plushies. I used to just like crochet blankets and scarves and stuff. And so it was always nice to like make something while like drinking something hot and then you like slowly get like a blanket covering you. Like that was really nice. And so I guess that's kind of like stayed with me, even though I don't crochet in that way anymore, and I don't think I ever will because it's time consuming and that's just not fun for me anymore. Like I can't even really like I don't have the attention span to make quilts or like granny squares or like the same thing over and over again as I used to, where now I can make a little plushie and then I have like a little guy at my desk and I don't like only had to like work on it for like a day and then I have like a whole thing in my arms. Oh yeah, this is the cord I was talking about earlier, where it's just a chair with some yarn thrown on it, and I use different like craft objects at the top. And I later realized, like all the way at the end, that there are some pieces that have like storage, like shelving that has a bunch of yarn in it, and that would have been really nice for this build. It's just that, like, the furniture items that came with the knitting pack are, like, not that cute to me, and they definitely don't fit this aesthetic at all. And I tried my best. I think I used a wall shelf that has some yarn in it. I don't think I deleted it, but I struggled to pick out a swatch for it and make it fit in really nicely because it was not working out no matter what I did. And so I was like, okay, maybe it's best that this is so last minute and that there's no space for a lot of this stuff because I probably would have tried to force myself to fit it in somewhere and then I wouldn't have liked how it looked at all. And so this area is where I was talking about they probably do their orders. There's the staircase that leads to the fake door that is just a window. That's kind of where I imagine that they'll, like, go in and out of the house to, like, more easily bring out boxes of stuff instead of bringing it all the way upstairs to bring it back downstairs because this house is, like, weirdly laid out. But I love this messy couch. I thought that it was perfect for down here. I guess it's also it gives me like a basement feel. It's very like messy but cozy down here. There's a lot of items thrown around. I have a small TV, which I realized that this is the only TV in the house. So there really wasn't a lot of space for it. I sized it down. I think it should be okay. I think it'll be like all right to use and doesn't. I don't think it won't be functional at all. Um, but yeah, that's where I place the boxes up the stairs, and I'm really just looking for anything that looks like you would make an order using it. I had that tote with the camping supplies, and I was trying to cover up some of the stuff in there because I wanted that tote, but I didn't want some of the stuff that was in it. So it took me a second to find something that I felt like blended in enough to it where it looks like maybe it's just a bunch of boxes and packages in there instead of camping supplies. And I think it worked out for what I wanted it to like be. I also lined the stairs with a couple of message in the bottles because I thought it looked really cute. There's like I put these letters up the stairs too, which I'm assuming that those letters and everything on the stairs would make the stairs not functional, even if that was a doorway. But that window looks like it could just be a door. And so I really like that. And it's a good way to use the space, I guess. Oh yeah, I took a second because I ran out of things to say, but I found the hashtag. It's hashtag Frosty Winter collab, and so you can use that to find the other builds, which I already see in the Discord. People have some really beautiful builds, and they all look so nice together on the gallery. So if you want to look up any other of the builds, they look really cute together. Like I don't know, I just like I love always seeing all of the builds like piling up in the gallery after a collab. It's just really nice. And I feel like I've been a little bit more quiet in collabs recently. I've been just like more quiet in general in like the Sims community in the last few months. So it's nice to be doing a collab again, kind of like making myself be more social and, like, stuff like that because it's been a second since I've felt, super social with, like, like, simming stuff, but this build I see I've ran out of things. It's a long video, but this is like I have like the same sort of plushie over and over again. Like they like made a bunch of them and I guess listed them. What is it? Plopsy is the site that the Sims can sell on. I've never really done that. I don't think it's a good way to make money in the game. I think it's a really like slow process, but I've never done it before, so I could easily be wrong about that too. But this is the last section of the build. It's the like sitting area. Every time I say sitting area, I almost say seating area, which I guess they're both correct, but I always get thrown off when I'm going to say those. And more of those containers, I guess it's like tea containers that are like empty that they use for crafting supplies and stuff. I have some cute like cookie containers that I had saved specifically to use for stuff and then I never actually did, but now that I'm thinking about it, that would be really cute to keep some of my supplies in. And it would be like a better place to store my like yarn scraps because right now I have like a very tiny, like, I don't even know what it's called, like a sugar bowl type situation that I found at the thrift store that has like these cute strawberries on it. And it's like nice for the yarn scraps, but if I'm not crocheting a lot, I don't have a lot of yarn scraps to like put inside my plushies to kind of reuse. And so they've been piling up. And if I had one of those like cookie or tea tins for it, I think it would make things a lot easier. See, this is the item that I was trying to make work in here. And I was not sold, but I just had to like give it up. I was like, I'm placing this, just let it go. And then I found more of these little guys around, so I wanted to add more in different places because these ones look more like what I've seen from crocheters is like that sort of style. And so I placed a little turtle and a little octopus on the table. And then I realized that there's these yarn balls that I could have used. I could have made a basket and filled it up with those. But at this point, I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just adding stuff. So there's a couple of yarn balls just on the floor and like on the table, but it would have been nice to have a basket of them. But we're going to be getting into the screenshots soon, which I'm going to have to take and then come back and show off the entire build that way. Screenshots have been taken and I had to play test this build. I had to move some stuff around. The kitchen wasn't functional at first, and neither was the bookcase that was next to the door, like the front door. So some stuff got pushed into walls, but it like looks completely normal and fine. It was just hard to take pictures of this build because the spaces are so tiny. So there's only a few rooms here that I have pictures of. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye.